Hi guys, today our guest is Matt Coughlin, who's the Executive Director of Pensacola International Airport, a retired Navy aviator with two master's degrees in strategy and engineering, and the driving force behind PNS's record-breaking growth and $100 million Transform PNS expansion. It's my pleasure to have you on today, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it.
Thank you again, and I'll let you give a brief introduction about yourself so the listeners can better understand who you are, where you come from, and what you do.
Sure. I grew up in New England a long time ago and went to college up there. And soon after I graduated college, I joined the Navy and was commissioned and went through flight school here in Pensacola. I was blessed with a pretty long career. I was in for about 27 years, and I was really blessed because my career not only started here in the Pensacola area, it also ended here, coming full circle as I was the base commander up at NAS Whiting Field. And if you're familiar, Whiting Field is basically the the centerpiece for naval aviators being trained, and they train about 60% of the fixed wing naval aviators, Marines, and international students. And they train 100% of all rotary wing pilots in the Navy, Coast Guard, Marine. So it's quite a place. I was blessed to finish up there. And then soon after my retirement, I had some mentors here at the airport. And because Whiting was oversaw a lot of airports, 13 airports in southern Alabama, northwest Florida, I wanted to transition to the airport industry. I was really fortunate because I had some mentors here locally in Pensacola that took me on, and I started out at a pretty low level as an operations officer here at the airport. Worked my way up, and some folks saw maybe more in me than I saw in myself, and I've worked my way up to the executive director here. So I've been incredibly blessed and into not only finish my career in the area here, but to start on chapter two is awesome.
hmm And what challenges surprised you as you transitioned to the civilian sector in aviation?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a lot of people struggle with that, especially if you've been doing something for 20 plus years and you've been wearing the uniform. There's it's pretty different on the outside, so you have to think on it a host of different levels, and what how you conduct yourself in the military does translate well into the I found into the to civilian world, but you can't do it alone. And like I said, I had some mentors along the way, and making that transition easy. I think some of the one of the big things people struggle with is vocabulary. Um, when you do resumes, when you promote yourself in interviews or whatnot, you really have to kind of disconnect from the whole vocabulary you've been using for the last 20 plus years. And so that's one of the struggles. But it's really about connecting with people and knowing what you want to do, going through those milestones to get there, and executing.
Thank you for sharing that. Since you had this military training, crisis response, and Pensacola is, you know, in this hurricane area where you never know what's going to happen every year, how does this training help you prepare or deal with hurricanes or major events that disrupt the operations at the airport?
I would say that's one aspect of your profession that translates really well, because the systems in place are pretty much the same when it comes to dealing with emergencies. Um, we here at the airport have an airport emergency plan. It's this thick, and it basically deals with every contingency we might see, whether that's everything from an aircraft mishap to a hurricane, and we train to that all the time, just like they do in the military. We're required to by the FAA to go through a continuum of exercises. Starting out, for example, this year we did just a simple tabletop, and you use a scenario. The next year is more of a practical. It's a little bit more involved, and you cap that all off in your third year with a full scale exercise, whether that's on the airport, off the airport. So you're always preparing and you're always training for those type of events, whether it's a storm event. This winter we had, since I think we hadn't seen snow here since 1895 to that level, and we had the greatest snowfall ever recorded. And so, how do you deal with that? And so, that one wasn't in our airport emergency plan, but the structure and how you handle that was. So, uh, the military prepared me well for that, and we've had to use some of those same processes here at the airport to deal with whether it was Hurricane Sally or Snowmageddon, as we call it, this last winter.
Yeah, yeah, and I hear that a lot that training in the military, but also it translates to life. The training, it prepares you for uncertainty and helps you effectively deal with whatever you have to deal with in a dire scenario, whether it's a hurricane or a major snowfall or whatever it is.
Yeah, we have them all. We have floods, the flood of 2014, you name it. But we practice for all of them.
hmm My next question would be more on the balance between growth and keeping customer experience on top of your mind. How do you balance these two dichotomies?
That's a great question, and it's a big challenge. So when you see growth rates for airports, we plan for about 3% a year, and that's what the FAA looks at as a standard growth rate. In recent years, we've seen last year, for example, we grew at 14% in 1 year. Over the last 10 years, we've pretty much doubled our passenger counts. This year, we exceeded 3 million passengers. So that presents a lot of challenges, especially, and I use 10 years because roughly 10 years ago was the last time the airport was actually modernized, expanded. And so back then, everything was designed around basically a regional jet. We weren't a big airport. And so you had a lot of maybe smaller aircraft. And it's what we're seeing today with that increased growth in passengers, much larger aircraft, much larger volumes of people on a daily um, level. Yesterday we saw close to 6,000 enplanements, which basically is 12,000 passengers come through a facility that's 10 years old. And like you said, it comes with challenges. The building wasn't designed for that. And so what do you have to do? You have to you have to make it efficient in the sense that people maintain that customer experience, a positive experience, and try to overcome some of those weaknesses that we have in capacity. We do that, for example, everything from increase in parking. We've increased parking probably over 30% in the last 4 years, and we're still faced with challenges. Increased queuing. We had lines coming out of the TSA checkpoint because there's only so much volume that TSA can process. We've added expanded queuing to make that experience a little bit more seamless, if you will. Not to say we still don't have challenges, but those are just a couple examples of how you weigh that customer experience and apply that to the challenges we see today.
hmm And I'm curious, how do you increase parking? As you said, this building might not have been designed for, the throughput that you have to provide. So, what are the strategies to improve parking and mitigate this problem?
Great question. So what we did was we in the grand scheme, there's a saying in the industry: "You seen one airport, you seen one airport." They're all different. In our particular case, one of our weaknesses is the amount of land we own. We're 1,400 acres. We're not, from a land mass standpoint, we're not a big airport. even though if you look at our airport, our land mass is roughly 10% of the land mass for the city of Pensacola. Um, but we have challenges with that. So you have to find land that's close to the terminal. You have to build parking lots. In one of those cases, we had to reacquire land that we had under agreement with a third party just to build a parking lot. So since I've been here in the last 5 years, we've built two parking lots. We've increased basically almost 1,000 parking spaces. And the other thing we did with our park and operation that makes it a little bit more efficient and seamless is our park and revenue control equipment, which makes it easier for the customer. And back to your customer experience question, it's all automated. You drive into our parking lot now, they know how long the vehicle's been in the parking lot, they know when you leave, and it's automatically charged to your car right then and there. Makes it really seamless. The other thing we added was what we call cell phone lot. So in order to get some of the vehicles off the curb in front of the concourse where there's a lot of congestion, people can now come into the airport campus and pull into our cell phone lot and wait for their loved ones or friends to fly in, and then they can expedite going to the curb to pick them up. So we don't have a lot of congregation at the front of the terminal. Not only that, it's makes it easier for the customer, but it's a security concern too. We don't want a lot of vehicles hanging out, if you will, at the front of the terminal. So those are just some of the things when it comes to ground transportation and vehicles that we've done. Uh, for the future, we do plan on building another garage. We eventually, because I mentioned the land mass isn't that great, we need to go vertical, and that includes another garage. And basically, that would be adjacent to our current garage. We have concept designs right now, upwards to 2,000 vehicles capacity that we can put in that garage. More to follow on that, and we're going to be as we build out a new concourse. That's also going to be another big project just down the pipeline for us.
Mm-hmm. And when you mentioned expanding vertically in terms of parking spaces, I was thinking, do you also go down, or can you only build up?
No, we mainly go up. You can go down, but it's just so expensive. And parking garages are basically your most expensive parking solution today. And you're looking, if you think about it, if you take a parking garage today, a single spot basically relates to about $35 to $40,000 a spot. So you can imagine how expensive that gets. Fortunately, the revenue we get from that helps pay for that, and that's the way we're going to go moving forward.
Thank you for sharing. Could you tell us a little bit more about Transform PNS project, what it is, what it covers, and then I have a few additional questions about that.
Sure. So moving forward, we have currently our terminal and current concourse. We have 12 gates. 10 of those have jet bridges. Two are ground service gates for aircraft. So with 12 gates, we have 9 airlines. You can imagine it gets pretty busy. And back to my earlier discussion about what the building was originally designed for, it's incumbent that we expand and meet the current or the future need of the community. So with that, there are currently plans in place to grow the security checkpoint, which is kind of a limiting factor for us now. And then also, we will be building a new concourse. So if one were to drive onto the airport campus, if you will, just to the right, there's some small hangars there today. That will be an entirely new concourse. We'll be adding 5 gates, which will add roughly, a 50% capacity increase to the airport, both in flights and passengers. And with that comes all the items around passenger experience, your concessionaires, added bathrooms, facilities, an airport lounge, also the expanded checkpoint, which is really a big piece of this. we expect to double the size of the current checkpoint. If you've come through our airport, you'll see four lanes there for TSA. We expect to turn that whole area 90 degrees, expand the ceilings, and double that to eight potential lanes in the future, which will be very helpful in the next 10 to 15 years, not only meeting today's demand, but the years to follow. So that's really the centerpiece of Transform PNS. It's really about meeting the capacity, meeting the demand, and not only that, having a state-of-the-art facility for the community.
The construction for this new project starts in summer 2025. How long do you expect this project to take, and when is it expected to complete?
We expect it to take about 2 years, so it's a phased project, and it begins with the security checkpoint. So if you were to come into the airport today, the security checkpoint's on the second story. What people don't realize is what's underneath that. And what's underneath that is all our baggage handling system. It's a very industrial, very complex system to sort bags, check out security, and get those bags on airplanes. So what we need to do when we expand that security checkpoint is we have to build on top of that. Not only do we have to build on top of that, we have to keep it operational the whole time, which makes it a very complex project. So we'll be starting probably late summer, this coming summer, with the security checkpoint, the baggage handling system. Probably a year into that, we're going to start expanding. Once that completes, we'll expand with a walkway over to the new concourse, and the concourse construction will also begin. We expect the project to take roughly 2 years. We're currently in design for the whole security checkpoint, baggage handling, and the new concourse. We're in the design phase of the project. We've just reached the 30% milestone, and it will go up pretty quick after that. It's not a linear function. We expect the design to ramp up really quick here, followed by hopefully having a shovel in the ground this summer.
Nice, nice. Well, good luck with that. Hopefully, it will go according to the plan. Um, I'm also interested in the way you operate. So airports are very complex ecosystems, and you have to cultivate teamwork among federal partners, airlines, city government. So how do you do that?
That's that's the secret. So it's all about teamwork, um, and a lot of times. So you take an airport, and you have, like you said, you have federal partners, you have state partners, then you have tenants, people that use the airport, whether that's airlines, concessionaires, ground handling companies. You have fixed base operations. And each organization comes to the table with a different culture, a different mission, and the key is, the end of the day, a customer coming into the airport doesn't necessarily distinguish between them. So there, to your point, that's where the challenge is. And it's really about, not to overuse the word collaboration, but you really got to collaborate on so many different levels. And the whole team has to be able to do that. So really, what I try to do here at the airport is create a culture that spans different organizations. And so there's plenty of friction points where you can get mad at each other and hold grudges and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you have to work together. And it's like a family. And you just create a culture where we all hold each other accountable, because a lot of times we have issues with some of our entities who work here. They have issues with us. It's really just coming to the table, trying to agree and trying to fix it. Because at the end of the day, it's about that person that's coming to the airport, trying to travel to whatever their travel needs are, and to make that experience the best possible. So we're good about holding each other accountable and working through it.
Hmm. Yeah, and I want to expand a little bit more about your leadership principles, since you've probably mentored naval officers as well as airport staff. Do you have a core set of principles that you try to instill in everyone you lead?
Sure. Be nice, be honest, sometimes brutally honest, accountability. Everyone's accountable, including me and everyone up and down the chain, and um, just work together. I think it's key when you build your staff that you find people, and it's a challenge. You find people that you think are going to work together really well, and you don't need like-minded people necessarily. You want some diversity in personality. We just went through an exercise here at the city with all our city employees where we did one of these battery tests where you figure out your personality type. And here's what I learned, because we did an internal with our airport staff, is that we're all different. And I wouldn't have necessarily suspected that. But I think it really explains how we're able to work together, because we all bring a little bit different perspective to the table. And, but at the end of the day, it's about, what do we do? Why do we come to work every day? And it's really about allowing people to make travel choices and making that experience as seamless as possible.
Got it, got it. Thank you for sharing that. My next question would be a little bit more on maybe personal side. How do you recharge? Because your work is definitely very stressful with a lot of moving parts and things that you have to manage. What's your how do you recharge from this kind of a high stakes environment and pressure that you experience every day at your job?
That's a good question. I probably don't do a good job at that, personally speaking, but really what I like about is when I go home at night, I just try to turn things off best I can, and try to, no matter what job you're in, whether it's the military or municipal government or whatever, you get benefits, you get time off. You need to take it off. You need to have a good work-life balance. I try to subscribe to that, because otherwise, if you don't have that balance, it's just going to hurt you in the end. So no matter who you work for, they give you benefits. Take that time off. Don't store them up. So you have to give time back. Use that, because, like you said, you definitely need to recharge your batteries. And I expect that for my people too. Um, I'll tell them, that's a benefit. You have to use it. Time off, take it, go hang out with your family, friends, or whatever you need to do, and recalibrate. So that's kind of the way I look at it. When you can do it, do it.
Well, and the last message that I want you to give is for the listeners, whether they are from here from Pensacola or generally in the States or even internationally. What is one message that you want to give to listeners?
I would say that welcome. Not only welcome to Pensacola. It's a great place. There's a reason I live here. I grew up in New England, but there's definitely a reason I live here. It's a beautiful area, incredibly hospitable in a nice way, and we really like it here. And you can't go wrong. And then when you do have to leave and go visit family, go on vacation, the message is we are doing our best to make that experience good and positive for you. It's not always that way, but you have a great team here that's working very hard to ensure that's the case.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for your time today, for sharing your story and lessons. It was an honor to have you on.
Thanks, Danny.